Donald Trump won this election, and the Democrats have no one to blame but themselves. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Discourse Politics. First of all, I apologize for the audio. I have been coughing for about 4 weeks now with bronchitis. I'm going to try and edit out all coughing, but if I miss some, I apologize. So, the election results are in. It's about 3 in the morning where I'm at, and I can't help but feel like the Democrats screwed up royally. And I'm not talking about just, nominating Hillary Clinton, who was a terrible candidate, but for years, they neglected an issue that resonated deeply with a lot of people. And that issue is immigration and trade. I desperately tried to tell all of my Democratic friends to stop lumping the working class voters in with racists. There is a clear difference between the two. And all the time they would always respond with, well, when the rhetoric is appealing to, members of the KKK and the racist element, then by extension, the speech that's being given or the verbiage that's being given is at the very least some sort of dog whistle to racists. Therefore, the speech or the type of words being used are, how do I put this, are sort of invalid. It's not a valid political stance. I told them that's a mistake, that they've been doing that for years, and it's going to bite them. It's going to bite them in the ass at some point. Well, it bit them in the ass this time. The working class vote heavily broke to Donald Trump. And so I'm going to tell you a story about when I first started thinking about this issue seriously, as not just something that people are talking about because of race or racism in general. Back in 2012, I was a political consultant. It sounds more glamorous than it was. I was just in charge of watching committees and reporting back to the law firm what was going on in those committees, in which, elected officials were leaning which direction. My friend was the campaign manager for a United States Congress or a person running for United States Congress, and he invited me to go hear her speak. I just happened to, we happened to cross paths, and she was speaking at a hotel just a block away, so I went over and listened to her speak. And it was the first time that I had seen people get really angry and visceral at each other. They weren't really mad at the candidate herself. They were yelling amongst themselves. The 5 individuals who were causing the issues were in industries that were being affected by immigration. So just to give you some demographics of the 5 individuals, one was a business owner. One claimed to be a roofer or in the roofing industry. One claimed to be a carpenter. The other 2 didn't identify themselves, but they said that essentially they couldn't find work or they had lost their jobs as the result of... one did say he was a road worker, but they all claimed that they were being affected by immigration. And they wouldn't leave that subject alone. It was a town hall meeting, and they kept interrupting, they kept arguing, they kept saying that something needs to be done about immigration. They were disruptive and angry. And I thought to myself, man, this just seems, like it didn't seem real. And for the record, they weren't all white. One was African American and one was a Native American. And it just seemed like it was 5 individuals who were plants. At the time, that was my conclusion, that they were people who were just going there to disrupt the meeting because, we're in a heavily Republican area, and it just seemed like people who were just disruptive. That's all they wanted to do was disrupt the meeting. As time went on, I continued to think about that. That's something that's always been on my mind. One day while walking into the gym, I happened to run into that individual who was the campaign manager, and we had the discussion about that meeting 4 years ago. I said that upon further analysis, it seems to me that there is an issue that's being neglected by both political parties, and that the people who are being disaffected by a labor force that is not charging the same rate for their labor as, other individuals, it's upsetting the economic balance. And this upsetting of the economic balance is leading people to be legitimately angry at our lack of immigration policies and also be angry at our trade policies. I'm an independent, so I was urging not just this individual, but any of my Democratic friends who work in politics to stop lumping all Trump supporters or all people who might be attracted to voting for Trump as racist. None of them listened. Every single one of them kept bringing up the point that his rhetoric is fueling racism. And I kept saying that you're mixing up two things. Just because there's overlap doesn't mean it is the case. Even Trump himself could be a racist. But if someone has lost their job or they've been affected negatively economically by certain policies, whether that be trade or a lack of immigration policy, you can't lump those individuals into a racist group. None of my friends listened to me. All they could hear when Trump spoke was bigotry and hatred. So I want you to imagine one scenario is you're somebody in, say, Michigan or Western Pennsylvania. You used to be, in the case of Western Pennsylvania, you used to be part of a steel manufacturing company, and your job got shipped overseas, essentially. Your significant other used to work in a road crew, and now that individual is no longer working in a road crew, building and repairing roads, because someone else offered to do their job at half the wage. When you have been voting for Democrats for years, because the working class, especially the unionized working class, has voted for Democrats for years, and then you're presented with these two candidates. When one candidate says hateful things, but then he says these negative trade policies and NAFTA and open borders have killed the American dream. And if companies continue to ship jobs overseas, I'm going to put tariffs on anything that they manufacture overseas and ship into the country. Keeping in mind that Trump does the same thing. He manufactures overseas and brings stuff in. It doesn't matter because he's speaking to your issue. So then you look to the other candidate, the candidate of the party that you've been voting for years. And their response is, love Trump's hate. Trump is a bigot. The people who support him are baskets of deplorables. This kind of rhetoric is, in my opinion, the problem with the Democratic Party, the biggest problem with the Democratic Party. They can't distinguish between an actual bigotry, actual sexism, racism, sexist, racist. They can't distinguish between those people and people who have valid concerns. Any negative statement made towards a minority, any negative statement made towards someone from another country is inherently racist by a lot of people on the left. And when you're presented with these two options, as they have been in, say, West Virginia, where Democratic policies has killed the coal industry, West Virginia switched from a reliable blue state to a reliable Republican state. It was just a matter of time before Western Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin all did the same thing. Republicans for at least the last 16 years have been aiming for those states, and they have been unsuccessful at it until this election. Because for the first time, a national candidate was saying things like, he's going to put a tariff on goods manufactured outside of this country. Ultimately, it's going to be difficult for him to do that, but that's not the point. The point is that he was talking about those issues that resonated with the working class, and the party that's supposed to represent the working class has taken that vote for granted for at least the past 16 years. All of my Democratic friends, if you're listening to this and you've made it this far, because most of you probably turned it off by now, distinguish between actual racism and legitimate concerns, because that's your biggest problem. You can't distinguish between the two. And when you lump them in together, you dismiss valid concerns as racism and bigotry and nationalism, which they may be those things. But you have to at least understand, if the working class is telling you that my jobs are being shipped overseas, that a migrant workforce, whether legal or illegal, is coming in and undercutting wages, that these concerns need to be addressed. So basically, in the end, I think the biggest thing that the Democrats did, in which they screwed themselves, which is why I'm making this whole video as a quick response to the election, is that they need to pay more attention to the working class voters. If they haven't already lost that vote, they may, in fact, be on the precipice of losing all tenable support with that working class the view that you could get a good paying job and work all your life and reach the American dream, you would think they would naturally gravitate towards the Democrats, but not when the Democrats are continually poking at them and saying, you will abide by, this idea of open policy and open borders and open trade. You will abide by this because it's better for all people. And if you don't, then you're a racist or you're a bigot. If you continue down that path, in my opinion, it's the Democrats who are going to implode, not the Republicans. They're going to continue being conservatives and slowing things down and not wanting change. The people who want change have to make the case for change. The problem is if the change that you're proposing is crap, you're going to lose elections. And you didn't really propose any change. All you proposed was to love Trump's hate, that everything that Trump was saying was hateful. You may very well be right. I quite frankly don't want to, get into those weeds. To be 100% honest, I can't defend what Trump is saying. What I can defend is his populist message resonated, and you lost the working class vote. Democrats lost the working class vote. It's not hatred. It's not sexism. It's not bigotry. Look in the mirror. Anyway, thank you for listening. I apologize again for the audio. I'm sick as a dog. I've been sick for about a month. Which sucks because I really wanted to make some good videos about this election. Well, that about wraps it up. If you at least enjoyed a little bit of what you heard, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll try and put out more videos whenever I get rid of this cough and get over bronchitis and whatever else I have, because it can't possibly be just bronchitis. And until then, thank you for listening.